Tēnā koutou katoa, lovely to see you all here. Yes, so this is one of the 9 strands of our work, and we're going to talk particularly, we've been moving around the country, talking in turn to each of the 5 cities that were very generous in helping us with this project. So the 5 urban areas, because we did this before there was a talk of amalgamation, or was ongoing talk of amalgamation, we looked at the 5 urban areas in Wellington and that region, which I'm going to be talking about today, also Christchurch, Dunedin, Hamilton and Auckland. And overall there were 90 stakeholders involved with this. The interviews were maybe a minimum of an hour, and we also had a public survey of over 3,000 people. And in this book we've included, as a sort of antipasto, summaries of the research that we've done which relate to these areas. The interviewer for Wellington was Dr. Marie Russell. Guy Salmon under the Auckland and Christchurch ones, and Marie also did Dunedin. And so this was a question that had that MB and also the government was particularly interested in. If we want urban development to be different from business as usual, what is it that we need to be doing? And some of you may have heard me talking about some exemplars from Europe that we were privileged to see, which makes us realise even though we're working hard, we're quite a long way behind in some things. So the issues that we looked at were what drives or constrains change, and then what are key scenarios. We were interested in this both in terms of understanding trajectories, but also in being able to do modelling. And we were particularly interested in how work in New Zealand is different from, say, a federal state system. So we were where and why do perspectives differ between central government and local government. Of course, particularly interest in transport, iwi and other governance stakeholders. And we carried out a horizon survey because we were also interested in what was the nature of public opinion on urban trends. We decided we were originally going to go with focus groups, and we decided that this, because there was such a lot of issues around what the structure of councils was going to be, and quite diverse opinion, we really wanted to capture that. So we, in these interviews that we did, we decided to do them as key informant individual interviews. We don't identify who the people are, but at the back of the book there's a list of the 90 people. So you can play a guessing game of who these people were. It's certainly the cities in the Wellington region are a part of an urban system with a complex web of economic, social, political and transport links, and we were interested in how those things work together. Sometimes we talk about the cities as being a complex system. And we had nearly 4 key drivers, and these were the environmental drivers that people stated that they thought were very important. In the near term, there was a lot of consensus about this actually in the Wellington region. Environmental issues, the discharges into Porora Harbour, water meters in Kapiti. There is, of course, real concern about emergency preparedness and how resilient infrastructures and communities would be. And you can see the picture that there's the flooding from May 2016 in this previous picture here. Were pretty dramatic in low-lying areas of the Hutt. And of course most cities in New Zealand are built on either river valleys or swamps, so this is again another area that is of considerable issue across New Zealand, but expected to be dealt with by local councils. And the Commissioner for the Environment, Parliamentary Commissioner for the Environment, has raised the issues of this is beyond the scope of the kind of the rate base that many cities have, particularly as the amount of central government taxation going to local councils has been declining. People were very concerned about climate change, and especially extreme weather events and sea level rise, and a changing degree of awareness amongst citizens about these environmental issues. That is, people were more and more conscious about it. Because we're interested in systems, we were interested not just in housing and transport, but the way that land use has an impact on urban form and housing. And most people favoured compact development, where Auckland and Wellington are distinguished by having a majority of people favouring compact development. So we like to think we're, the most sustainable cities. The first quote here comes from Wellington City, and the third quote is from a Wellington business person. And these features of the advantages of compact cities, the younger and older people increasingly wanting good quality apartments and medium density housing in the cities. And I love the last quote. I know who said it, but you can guess. And the idea that Wellington's comparative advantage is potentially as a service city, and therefore the quality of housing and the ability to walk and cycle and nice public spaces is very important. In the hut, some people were said to be keen on apartments with access to green environment. Porirua was living with the results of previous planning and infrastructure decisions, e.g. car parks for Christmas, and roads into the CBD. And many spoke in all the areas about the need to expand the range of housing options in the region. People wanted traditional standalone homes, but also medium density housing. In terms of governance and public engagement, something we were all very interested in. This, as I said, our study was done during the vote on government amalgamations, and things that came up in this, which we know didn't pass, that people, even if they didn't want amalgamation, they wanted regional cooperation, other ways of working together, such as a regional spatial plan. And people said public engagement and local government decision-making, the idea that was consensus could be done a lot better. And people might like to ask about some of the research we've got going on in this area. And people recognised that this was a very important problem. A very important issue, I should say, opportunity. So this comes from the Horizon poll, which you'll know is done on the web, so it's they weight it, there's quite a lot of evidence that makes the representation of it reasonably good. And we were asking people what their support was for the vision of a quality, compact city in your city. And here we broke it up. You can see the proportion of people along the side here, with 50% being across here. And this is the Kapiti Coast, and this is blue is yes, beige is no, and the purpley colour is not concerned either way, we don't know. So you can see that there's quite strong feeling about not having a more compact city in Kapiti. And likewise in Porirua, in Upper Hutt, this was very interesting, quite a strong feeling about wanting a more compact city in Upper Hutt. In the Hutt city, less so, more in common with the Kapiti, Kapiti Coast. And Wellington City, you can see very keen actually to continue the compact living and the pleasures of that. And as a New Zealand as a whole, you can see that Wellingtonians want a more compact city than most New Zealanders, but that's not the case in Porirua in particular, and the Hutt city. So maybe the Mayor can talk to us about this. We've done one case study. I'm just going to briefly profile a case study that actually was done by we have trained a number of masters and doctoral students under this program, and this is the one that was done on. And this one's a master's done by Helen Topham, who was then working with Regional Public Health. And for about 5 years, she studied Adelaide Road, which was supposed to look like this. And Jan Gehl came out, that very famous Danish urban planner. There was a huge lot of consultation. It's still designated as one of the growth spines. But as she sat in all the meetings, this is what it looks like now. And the reason for this is that the council in the 1960s sold away the road reserves to get lower rates. So now there's a lot of car parks for small businesses there. They didn't want a barrier in the middle that made their difficult for their trucks to turn and hire there. They didn't like the trees. In any case, it ended up, I cross here every day, a bit of a wasteland, I have to say. In fact, even the booms in the middle were taken out. There's not a proper cycleway there, so it's a bit of a disaster. And this occurred at the same time as, of course, the Basin Reserve, and in the end that was the trump card. You're not allowed to do what you want to do because it's going to delay people getting onto road of national significance. Finally, I'm just going to talk about one that we've started, He Tupu Manahau, meaning a resilient plant. And this is the development of a strong relationship we have with Kokiri and Wainuiamata Marae and Wainuiamata, particularly with our housing group, but also with this. And we like to work in partnerships, not just with councils, but local communities. And we want to create a low carbon model community. And that was one of the reasons we did the trip looking at around Europe to look at regeneration of suburbs. We wanted to reduce fuel poverty. There's a big use of copper, chromium, and arsenic wood out there, and high levels of arsenic. Generate employment and renew the population there, which has gone from 20,000 down to about 12, I think now, and involving also renewable energy. And there's a picture of the very beautiful marae decorated by Eleanor Hettet. And this is just a quote from Te Mana Kōriri about how important this project is to the Māori community, and that the marae being the centre of the wider Wainuiamata. So in conclusions, regions with compact and this is a region with a compact and sustainable core and other compact centres. There is support, varying levels of support for compact cities across the cities, but there's still the central government policies about roads of national significance and how easy it is to get on or off them has cut across the compactness, particularly of the northern part, and highlight some of the problems that city councils have. And despite very ambitious goals in Wellington City Council and Kapiti, there's slow progress on climate mitigation compared to what needed and compared to the level of concern in the communities. So this is just a taster of what the chapter in here. So thank you very much.